Hello, if your family is anything like mine, a lot of times as you're coming up to the holiday season, you're looking for gifts, and the gifts that you're looking for especially are books. My family loves books for gifts. So I'm making this series in the months heading up to Christmas that pulls out my reviews of specific books from other bigger videos that I've done and just presents just the review straight to what's good or bad about this book. And then at the end of the video I'll add I recommend this as a gift, I really recommend it as a gift, or in some cases as I don't recommend this as a gift. So in the time leading up to Christmas, I present to you this new series of Rerun Novorum videos of what books I recommend for holiday gifts. I hope you enjoy it. Looking at fantasy novels, you can't, and as a Christian, you have to bring up two people, Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. They're kind of like the Christian authors. So we're gonna, let's look at them. So Tolkien writes a really good essay on how Christians should look at fantasy, and it's super good. I'm not going to recap it all here. Maybe we'll do a video on it, and I'm definitely going to link it into the description. And Tolkien talks about how fairy tales and making up these stories shows our image, how we're an image of God, and it's amazing because God creates, but we're sub-creators when we write and stuff. So it's really cool, and it also there is a kind of way where we spread the gospel through these stories, or it prepares us for the gospel. Okay, so in Tolkien's books, and I'm just going to be looking at it, he wrote a lot, but let's look at some of his really more important ones. So the first one, of course, is The Hobbit. Everybody's probably read The Hobbit. You read it to your kids. It's a really good book. Well, this version of The Hobbit, I don't think you're reading to your kids, but I really like it a lot because it just, C.S. Lewis once said he wouldn't know what glory is, what it meant when we said that God's full of glory if he hadn't been in the wilderness and seen raw wilderness. That's where the content for the word glory comes from for him. And that's true. I like that a lot. But I think that's true for me for reading Tolkien's books. Especially The Hobbit is really good for kids. It just gets that imaginative, it gives us the imaginative firepower to be able to put content to these attributes and our way of relating and knowing what God is like, because we can know intellectually, but it could just be a dry knowledge without meat on its bones. It really, one thing I really like about Tolkien's books is there's a lot of, especially The Hobbit, but all of them, there's this sense, it gives you this sense of adventure. I wouldn't know what an adventure of the gospel and the Christian life is. I wouldn't know it as well if I hadn't read Tolkien's books. Another big theme in the idea of, and this comes through less in like The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and more in his other books, where he says the history is just the story of the long defeat, right? We lost to Satan, and that's what history is. It's just defeat after defeat until God, right, Jesus comes on the scene and reverses it. But even after that, history is still the story of the great defeat in many ways. And he shows that really well in a lot of his works. Especially, this is one of his sideways ones, The Children of Hurin. It's really, really good, but it is definitely the saddest book I've ever read, and it really gives content to the problem of evil. God has to solve this problem. It shows just the evil and not the solving of it. It shows evil so well and so just completely destroying someone, evil, someone who's trying to be good, and just evil, the devil being as evil as he can be. It's a really tough book that way. But another big theme of Tolkien's work that I think is really good for us Christians, and I think every Christian, if possible, should read at least The Hobbit, but is this idea, he called it eucatastrophe. That's the theme of Christian fiction, is everything seems really dark and really bad, but there's a eucatastrophe, which is the happy turn how everything, and it has to still be in line with the logic of the story where everything seems hopeless, but then there's that happy turn. And he says that prepares us for the resurrection. That is the resurrection, the seeds of the resurrection in all these stories, because the resurrection is the ultimate eucatastrophe. Okay, and I think the Lord of the Rings, and here's it's beat up. Here's my copy of the Lord of the Rings. I'm going to show that to you. It doesn't have a dust cover or anything. I've read it many times. My wife was asking me recently, how many times have you read that? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, well, more than 10? I was like, definitely more than 10. But so anyway, that tells you how much I like the Lord of the Rings. But I think one of the really good parts of it is the happy turnaround when everything seems lost and boom, the good guys do win in the end. So Tolkien is definitely really high up there on books that I think, especially The Hobbit, and then The Lord of the Rings, and then all his other stuff, that Christians should read. It's really helpful just to grow in our spiritual life.